we are going to talk about two organisms causing two types of diseases: schistosomiasis, مرض البلهارسيا عارفين, and other hydatid disease, which is the مرض الأكياس المائية, وأيضا معروف يعني عند المجتمع وعند الطلاب بشكل عام. So let us start with the learning objective. We are going to recognize the life cycle, pathogenesis, and infection caused by Schistosoma mansoni. And the other organism, Echinococcus granulosus. So these two organisms, we are going to deal with them this morning, inshallah. Secondly, to understand the epidemiology and the outline of treatment of both diseases, schistosomiasis and hydatid disease. So let us start with schistosoma. There are 5 species of schistosoma. Today we are going to deal with one species, Schistosoma mansoni. The other species important, Schistosoma hematobium, will be considered with the UGS, urinary genital system, inshallah, at the second semester, because it is related to the urinary system. Schistosoma mansoni related to the GI, and we will see that. Other species, Schistosoma japonicum, not locally important, is the most infectious schistosoma. Intercalatum, limited also locally. Micongi, also limited locally. So today we are going to concentrate on Schistosoma mansoni, and you have to know the names of all schistosoma, of course. Starting with schistosoma, adult worm in general, they are inhabiting the portal vascular system. That is to say, they are present in the blood at the portal system. And these organisms, these parasites, have the following: ventral and oral suckers for attachment, right? Secondly, they are cylindrical bodies in order to adapt living in the blood vessels. Of course, they should be cylindrical. They cannot be tapes, for example. And thirdly, they have separated sex. That is to say, female and males. And we will see the difference in a moment between females and the males. The males are short, 1 to 2 centimeters, with a deep groove on the ventral side. This is the deep groove, which is called schist. The word schist, it means shock, right? In this groove, ventral groove, the female lay, which is longer than the male and slender. So, in other words, the male carries the female, not the opposite. And schistosoma, as I said yesterday with fasciola, this is a trematode, belong to the group of worms. We said nematode, cystode, and trematode. So you have to remember that schistosoma is again a trematode. Why we didn't mention it with the intestinal? because it lives in the blood and cause diseases which is related to their location. The life cycle, mating, that is to say male and female, in the hepatoportal circulation. And then Schistosoma mansoni, adult worm, migrate to the inferior mesenteric system. And as you know from your anatomy, inferior mesenteric system surround the descending colon and rectum. That is why we are studying what Schistosoma mansoni with the GI system. Now the adult worm lay eggs deposited in the submucosa of the intestine, right? And then penetrate to the intestine and come out with the stool, the eggs, right? And they hatch outside the body and release their larvae. The larvae are called miracidia. What is miracidia? Or miracidium for single, miracidia for plural. These are the larvae of schistosoma. They hatch from the egg and they are called miracidia. These miracidia goes to snail, قواقع. قواقع أين تتواجد؟ At water supply, at water areas. So in farms عند الفلاحين when they irrigate يعني يسقون الحقول تبعهم, they walk barefooted يعني يشتغلوا حافين. عادة الفلاحين هيك يعني. وفي السواقي المياه تكثر القواقع وشايفيها يمكن انتم على حافات الأنهر أو البحيرات أو irrigation channels. So the miracidia migrate and reside in the snail and stay in the snail for 1 to 2 months. M here, months. 1 to 2 months. And then come out the snail as cercaria. Cercaria is characterized by forked tail. الذنب تبعها مشطور. شوف بالصورة. Forked tail. Why forked tail? For swimming. To swim in the water. And if a farmer comes in the water channel or something like that, these cercaria penetrate a human skin. They enter through the human skin, have the capability of penetrating intact skin, right? Similar to the worm that we have spoken yesterday. And when they penetrate the human skin, they are going to lose the tail. They become without tail. They don't need it anymore. The tail is for swimming. They have entered now into the body. So they will be called schistosomiola. So look, miracidia form cercaria, cercaria form schistosomiola. Schistosomiola, these are larvae, still larvae. And become schistosomiola in 1 to 3 days after penetration. They go to the vascular system. They migrate to the right heart and then to the lungs, and then from the lungs to the left heart, then go to the liver, to the hepatoportal system. I think it's clear like that, as simple as that. So you can see here, these are the three types of egg. This is Schistosoma hematobium, have terminal spike that will be taken with the UTS. Schistosoma mansonite that we are dealing today have lateral spike. وراح نشوفها بصور وشفتوها المختبر. And Schistosoma japonicum that we are not going to deal with it. So the eggs hatch, become miracidia, go to snail, then become cercaria, forked tail, penetrate the skin, lose this tail, and become schistosomiola. They go in the portal, they go in the blood circulation, reaching the lung, reaching the heart, right heart, left heart, then go to the liver, hepatoportal, where you find the adult worm. And the adult worm, as I said, migrate through the inferior mesenteric system around the descending colon and the rectum, where they lay eggs. Now, epidemiology, most important helminthic infection as a parasite is the second parasite worldwide after malaria. يعني أكثر parasite منتشر بالعالم هو الملاريا وأخذتوه العام الماضي. Now, the second one is helminthic. The number of cases in 2017, more than 220 million worldwide. رقم كبير جدا في العالم مصابين بالشيستوسوما. Now, the modern sanitation and the modern irrigation system, irrigation يعني السقي، سقي الحقول, has broken the life cycle. يعني it makes things better in farm. بس عندنا في الشرق الأوسط يعني لا زال يعني طرق السقي والفارمينج، يعني بعض الدول العربية يعني schistosomiasis is very common. Schistosomiasis has geographical distribution worldwide, in Asia, in Africa, in South America. أكثر دولة عربية تعرفون مصابة بالschistosomiasis هي مصر. About 10% of the population are infected. Because of the farms and irrigation system, and people, they work a lot in the farms barefooted. The peak of schistosomiasis in the second decade. Why in the second decade? The working force, العمال اللي يشتغلوا في الحقول أغلبهم بهذه الأعمال، صح؟ فهذا السبب the peak of the schistosomiasis is in the second decade. Now this is the egg of Schistosoma mansonite, lateral spike, very characteristic, big egg. حتى نشوفها بالمختبر باللو باور. Now, first of all, the pathogenesis could be categorized into three stages. Penetration and migration. The adult worm goes down, lay eggs in the submucosa, and these will penetrate. And the adult worm, oviposition, the eggs with the lateral spike, they will lay eggs. and the third is the granuloma. Penetration and migration of schistosoma. It means penetrate the skin and goes to the blood and then go to the intestine. This is what I mean. And then the eggs will be laid by the female, and these eggs are characteristics in morphology. And you know, these eggs, the immune system cannot clear them. Quite large. So the body, when anything cannot be cleared from the body, any foreign material will be surrounded by cells and fibrous tissue. This is called the granuloma. So granuloma will be formed. Lay granuloma will be formed because the immune system cannot clear up the deposited eggs. So penetration and migration of the larvae and then adult form, then oviposition, the deposition of ova, and then the formation of a granuloma. And you can see here how the eggs are surrounded by cells. This is a granuloma here. Okay? Immunity, of course, cell-mediated immunity will be very important. And these are big foreign material in the body. So cell-mediated immunity against what? Against the retained eggs, and eggs that deposited. The body will adapt itself to the presence of these eggs because of the role of suppressor T cells, which are called T-reg, T regulatory. خدتها العام الماضي بالإيمينولوجي بالفصل الصيفي. T-reg تعمل suppression للإميون system. Blocking antibody, AB antibody of IgG4 subclass, right? And also it is related to the HLA type. HLA-A1 and HLA-B5 are more prone to have such immune suppressive effect against the retained ova. So these factors play important role in making the body adapting itself to the presence of retained eggs. And there will be immunological tolerance to the parasite. And parasite is present in the portal system. The body will adapt itself to it. There will be tolerance. You know what's the meaning of tolerance? No immune reaction. Tolerance, immunological tolerance, it means there is no immune reaction. Concomitant immunity, immunity ترافق هذا الشيء اللي يحصل, the role of a protective specific IgA. حكينا any parasite infest the body will lead to the increase in the concentration of IgE. And I said to you that IgE will be increased in two conditions mainly, allergy and parasitic infestation or infection. Now let us take from a clinical aspect schistosomiasis. And we have three stages: early stage, intermediate stage, and the chronic stage. So let us start from the early stage. The early stage starts by the penetration of the cercaria through the skin and becomes schistosomular. Of course, the patient or the individual will start to have intense pruritic skin rash and itching, حكة, itching, حكة, which can be explained as type 1 and type 2 hypersensitivity. which can occur within 24 hours, immediately after the penetration of the circaria and becomes schistosomiora. Of course, the body will react against these foreign parasites that enter into the body. Intermediate stage, once you will have oviposition, that is to say deposition of the egg by the adult worm, these adult worms are antigens, considered by the body antigens. Antibody will be formed against them, and then you will get immune complex formation between the antigens of the egg and the antibody form. So you will get type 3 hypersensitivity, hypersensitivity, which is serum sickness type of type 3. You know, type 3 hypersensitivity can be as a serum sickness reaction, خاتمة immunology. This occurs in 1 to 2 months, okay? And during this stage, intermediate stage, there will be a syndrome occurs, which is very important syndrome, Katayama syndrome. What is Katayama syndrome? You get an increase, look to the arrow, an increase in what? In RBC, in white BC, eosinophil, EO, eosinophil, IgG, IgM, and IgE. So Katayama fever or Katayama syndrome characterized by an increase in these parameters. What happened in Katayama syndrome from a clinical point of view? The patient will suffer from fever, urticarial rash, enlarged liver and enlarged spleen. That is to say, hepatosplenomegaly, right? And the bronchospasm, reaction. The third stage is the chronic stage. The eggs retain in the body. The body cannot get rid of them. So there will be an inflammatory and fibrotic reaction. That is to say, formation of what? Formation of a granuloma. To contain them, لاحتواء الجسم من ما يقدر يتخلص من أنتيجين يحتوي بإيش؟ بالجرانيولوما. Right? So the liver and spleen involvement, and it is HLI related. حكينا قبل شوي. The reaction HLI related. These patients with schistosomiasis are prone to develop hepatitis B and C superinfection, which can lead to chronic active hepatitis. The explanation for this is dilemma. We don't know. But there are theories. May be related to the some countries using injection therapy against schistosomiasis in unsterile way. يعني نفس السرنج بيستعمل لعدة أشخاص. And we said these hepatitis viruses can be transmitted by blood and by injections. This is one explanation. The second explanation may be related to the immune suppression that occurs during schistosomiasis. So the body will be more prone to develop hepatitis. This is just explanation for you. I'm not going to, I haven't written it on this slide. But to understand, some students ask me why these people suffer from hepatitis. This is the explanation. Diagnosis is to identify the eggs. A stool examination. حكينا descending colon and rectum. So they come out with, if you don't get them, do constration method of the stool. Constration method is a laboratory method by which we concentrate the stool and make the yield better. The yield معناتها detection. Local biopsy from the area. You may also find the retained egg. And egg viability test. Egg viability test is an important test. Not all eggs are viable and can change or hatch to larvae. Some of them dead, and that's it. They will not continue. So you have to know how many of the eggs released from the body are viable in order to know the infectivity of these eggs. It's called egg viability test. عندنا طريقة بالمختبر، تفاصيلها يعني موجودة، ما لكم فيها. Also, you can detect the antigens of schistosoma in the blood by EIA, enzyme immunoassay. You know, the adult worm are present in the portal system. So they have antigens on their surface, liberated, and you can detect these antigens by EIA. The treatment, dermatitis and katayama, we said itching. What is the best treatment for itching? Antihistamine, logical more. And corticosteroid also to suppress the immunological reaction. Now we come to the drugs. Anthelmintic تكتب هالشكل بس هي anthelmintic اوكي. بعض الشعوب ما تعرف تنطقها فanthelmintic اوكي. Praziquantel is the drug of choice, oral single dose only, which is very excellent treatment. The other treatment is artemisinin, alternative for resistant yeast. Some countries cannot provide the praziquantel, they use the artemisinin. Prevention, sanitary disposal of feces, logical, لأنه الeggs are released through the stool. Molluscicides to kill the snails in the irrigation system. And a multi-pronged program in China has been tried, which is a system effective in the prevention of the disease. It's a program attacking the snails, attacking the sanitation, and educating the people not to work barefooted, etc. Multi-system. Vaccine is still not available, but under development. May take years to be developed. We finish with schistosomiasis and schistosoma mansoni. Let us take the other disease and the other parasite, echinococcosis, which means hydatid disease, al-akyas al-ma'iyya. Tissue infection of a human, look to the word, by larvae of Echinococcus granulosus. So the human being is infected by the larva or larvae of Echinococcus granulosus. Echinococcus granulosus is the parasite that causes echinococcosis. There is another Echinococcus multilocularis, locally not important in other countries. And it has the same, almost, parallel. So let us concentrate on Echinococcus granulosus. is a tapeworm دودة شريطية. إذا ترجعوا للتيبل اللي امبارح شوفت كميات تبع التينا سوليوم والتينا ساجيناتا راح تشوفوا الكاركترستيك تبع الإيكاينوكوكس جرانيولوسا موجود كولوم تبعها. السيستول similar to the tinea سيستول شريط. ليه ما حكينا عليها مع الانتستينال لأنه is not intestinal. The adult parasite, look to this sentence, is present in the small intestine of canine, dogs, not a human. A human infected by the larvae. Adult worm is present in the intestine of canines like dogs. These parasites, Echinococcus granulosa, have scolex. Scolex it means head. هاي تعابير parasitology يعني سهلة. Scolex it means head, which has 4 sucking discs and double hooklets. These discs and hooklets for attachment to catch. And you can see it. These are the rostrilum hooks, and these are the suckers. Only you can say hooks without rostrilum, okay? Hooks and suckers. For what? For attachment. And this is called scolex. Remember the word scolex, because I will come back to it in a moment. Scolex, it means head. The adult worm is 5 millimeter long, very small, half centimeter, but can cause a lot of damage to the body. It has 3 proglottids. هذه السيجمنت اللي حكيت امبارح عليها تبع التينيا. Proglottids. Immature, mature, and gravid. What's the meaning of a gravid? A gravid, full of eggs. Right? So you can see it. Immature, proglottid, mature segment or proglottid, and the gravid segment, full of eggs, which are present in the uterus of the gravid system. Right? So 3 segments, scolex and the 3 segments. The life cycle. Eggs are present in the surrounding, in the soil. Will be ingested by intermediate host. What are the intermediate hosts? Sheep, when they eat grass from the farm, goat, etc. And importantly, a human. Child playing in the garden, in the farm, outside the house. So, these intermediate hosts have no adult worm. And yesterday I've told you the intermediate host contain the larvae, right? السلام عليكم. صباح النور دكتور، يا هلا بيك. دكتور أنا بالمحاضرة أخلص محاضرتي وأرن على جنابك. عزيزي يا مية. اوكي. امبارح حكينا انه الانترميديت هوست يحتوي على اللارفا. This is an important subject, and you have to know that a human does not contain the adult worm. The adult form is present in the canine, in dogs. Now, the larvae in this aspect are called oncosphere. تعابير parasitology هاي مو من عندي. Okay, the larvae are called oncosphere. Hatch in the intestine and penetrate the portal of blood to the liver and then to the lungs, وعارفين circulation, and then to the systemic circulation and then to the brain. تروح من systemic circulation إلى different areas. Most of the body, brain, bones, kidney, and where they form cysts, أكياس. يصير عندنا hepatic cyst, pulmonary cyst, brain cyst. والمانيفستيشن كلينيكال تعتمد على اللوكيشن. إذا بالبرين يصير عندك neurological manifestation, seizure. So it depends on the location and depends on the size of the cyst and what organs are pressed by the cyst. Cysts form external laminated cuticle, very hard layer. I can show it to you. You can see this is the cyst. Very hard. So external laminated cuticle plus internal germinal membrane. Internal germinal membrane. This membrane, look at it, this is the germinal membrane here. And we'll see what will be the function. The cyst enlarge and form daughter cysts, which will produce protoscoleces. حكينا سكولكس وبروتوسكولكس يعني مشابهة للهيد. اوكي راح نشوفها هسه. هذا دوتر سيست. دوتر سيست شو بداخله؟ بروتوسكولكس. تمام؟ right. So produce protoscoleces from the germinal lining. هذه اللي حكينا عليها. And these protoscoleces, when they detach from the daughter cells, they form what is called hydatid sand in the cyst. يعني تسقط في أسفل الcyst at the bottom of the cyst and is called hydatid sand. Very infectious. And if the cyst ruptures, it causes a lot of damage, shock to the body. So one should be aware that the cyst during surgery does not rupture. Now, you know, sheep are slaughtered or died or something like that. They contain these cysts. Tamam? Dogs are in the surrounding. They eat these carcasses. Right? So ingestion by definitors. حكينا dogs هم definitors, such as these are canine, such as dogs, and they ingest the protoscoleces and they evaginate. These are like that, you can see them. Look at this picture, okay? They evaginate. كأنما the head will bulge. which attach to the intestine by the sucking disc and hooklets. Then they mature to become adult worm in 1 to 3 months. They become adult worms in 1 to 3 months in the small intestine. So the adult worm is present in the small intestine of canine, such as dogs. You can see the life cycle, very simple here. Embryonated egg, oncosphere. These will be taken by the intermediate host, like sheep, for example, a human, and they become cysts. When these animals slaughtered or die or killed, like sheep, they will be eaten by the dogs, which are the definite host. And the protoscolysis from the cyst will be released to the intestine and form the adult worm, and the story will be completed again. This is the explanation. If you understand it from the figure, that's it. If you would like to have a clarification about one point, you can read this. This is the cyst, as I said. The external cuticle, very hard, and this is the germinal layer from where the daughter cyst will arrive. Inside the daughter cyst, you will have the protoscolysis. Clear? You can see this is the cyst has been taken by the surgeon. This is after surgery. You can see the external cuticle, very hard. These are the eggs of the Echinococcus granulosa, and these are the protoscolysis. Epidemiology informs pastoral infection and sylvatic infection. pastoral معناتها الرعوي في القرى، راعي الأغنام مثلا، pastoral, right? Maintained by allowing the dogs to feed on what? To feed on sheep viscera. A human infection hand to mouth when children play or farmer works in the field. Infection via eggs, or children may play with the dogs and may get contact. Sylvatic not important locally. في البرية يعني sylvatic. Clinical manifestation, mechanical effect. You have a cyst, I am talking about a human being here, right? So mechanical effect of the cyst on the body. Cyst, you have it in the liver. You have hepatic manifestation. In the lung, you will have pulmonary manifestation. In the brain, you will have CNS manifestation and so forth. Usually asymptomatic. We have detected many cases, tens of cases, hundreds of cases, by routine examination. Some of the cysts are small, some of them are large. In the pastoral form, hepatic cyst is very common. 60% of the cases have hepatic cyst. Anaphylactic shock happens if the cyst rupture. As I said, they contain the protoscolysis, and the body will react against them immediately in type 1 hypersensitivity in a shock-like manifestation. And also you may have a specific organ manifestation. Diagnosis, radiological and scanning by ultrasound. تعمل ultrasound للليفر، تعمل x-ray للchest etc. MRI للbrain. Now sometimes if you find the cyst, you are not sure whether it is hydatid or not. So you can aspirate from the fluid of the cyst. This is diagnostic and at the same time therapeutic. You are removing the fluid from the cyst. Serological diagnosis. What is serological diagnosis? Antibody-antigen reaction. Positive in 90% of hepatic cases. Yani if a patient have got liver hydatid cyst, 90% positive by serology, which is very simple, and you get the result within a few hours from the lab. In pulmonary, 60% positive. So important way to diagnose hepatic is by serology. PCR also again very sensitive. Treatment, surgical. You remove the cyst. But here it requires skill and not to cause rupturing of the cyst. So there are better ways nowadays available to treat such a thing. In infusion of scolicide agents. What is this 20% hypertonic saline? مركز. Normal saline 0.9%. This is 20%. Plus 95% ethanol. Here you infuse it inside the cyst. You have first to aspirate حتى يصير rupture, then you inject this scolicide. And you can use at the same time concomitant, it means at the same time, albendazole for several weeks or even years. How to stop the infection? Hygienic measure, hand washing, deworming of dogs, offal, يعني dead animals, بقايا dead animal should be burned or buried, تدفن أو تحرق. This can stop the or can prevent the disease. Any question? Clear? Inshallah. All the best for you in the exam. Read your lecture, see your book, and I hope to you all the best. See you inshallah in the other systems. بإذن الله.